please give us your thoughts on Rex 84, the FEMA camps, and basically the response to Katrina and Gustav from the federal government?
Well, the post-Katrina response was a great illustration of our government's paralysis. They had the money, they had the technology, but they insisted on contracting out to corporations, including some who have contracted themselves out in Iraq, the actual functions. Well, there's no control there. This is a government function. There are people in dire straits. There are a lot of deaths. There's a lot of cleanup. There's a lot of food that has to be distributed and shelter. You don't contract that stuff out to corporate contractors who aren't accountable, who only want to make profit. I guarantee you, without today's technology, at a fraction of the money, the government of 1933 would have done a better job on a Katrina situation. And this Gustav was fortunately a much lesser storm, but the Corps of Engineers was afraid that some of the levees were going to be overcome. And this wasn't even a Class 4 hurricane. So it's going to happen again. And we're seeing more and more ferocious storms, and some meteorologists are connecting it to global warming. But it's amazing how incapacitated our government's response has become. This business of contracting out government functions is hamstringing our government. It's making good government employees just outraged. Some of them tell us, what are we here for? Just to sign off on contracts and have these companies do what they want to do? And then call their activities trade secrets and hide behind government immunity? We really have to have a heightened focus on the civil service, which is being run into the ground and corporatized and demoralized, I might add. And I expect to have a larger statement on that in the near future. We've got to recognize that a lot of these major politicians run against the civil service, and they get into Washington, and they never spend any time monitoring or engaged in the various departments. They're off making speeches, they're off in ceremonies, they're off at international conferences. They don't pay attention from the White House to the Department of Interior, Department of Agriculture, Food and Drug Administration, Department of Defense. And this is very demoralizing. I speak to a lot of civil servants in these seminars, including people from the intelligence agencies and the Pentagon, and they've got a lot of good ideas, and they know what's wrong faster than anyone, because they're right there. But whenever they try to object, they're either told, you know, you're not a team player, and they're eased out or set aside, or they're reprimanded. A lot of whistleblowers who are trying to blow the whistle on the meat industry or on the drug industry or on the chemical industry, inside government, inside EPA and OSHA, are treated so badly, even though we got some whistleblower protections for them years ago under statute, that they get completely demoralized, and they just put the time in until they retire. Now, what does that say to the young generation that doesn't even think of working for the government? Doesn't even think of working for the government, even though they're great responsibilities, and there's a marvelous tradition of public servants under certain administrations. So we have to pay attention to that. That's not soundbite stuff like Sarah Palin or, you know, John McCain or Barack Obama. They don't like to talk about the civil service. That's called a yawner. But let me tell you something. If you want clean meat and clean poultry and clean drinking water and safely tested pharmaceuticals, you better pay attention to the civil service.